construction.
Uh-huh.
My relatives, of course, not me.
Your father was so. Sorry,
My
I'm just
father
gonna put
was
this
a
here.
vice president in the bank,
Okay.
but my mother didn't work this time,
Okay.
and I was just only child. Before we was two child, she gave birth to two child, but they died. So she was very careful with me.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, and when the war started, I was 4 years old,
Okay.
and we went for evacuation to Siberia. Me, my mother, her dad, my mother's dad, my grandfather, and a grandmother, but it's a stepmother, stepmother.
And where were your parents from? Were they from Malin as well, or?
No. They, my father born not very far from Malin, but in this location, it's Zhytomyrskaya Oblast.
Okay.
Like here we have New York State.
Right.
It was smaller oblast in Russian, in Ukraine. It was administrative
Right.
some.
So is that like a small town, or is it like a village, or like a shtetl? Or
It's
what?
a small town also.
Okay.
It was he was born in a small town, not far from Malin, and they became friends and then married.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm. He has 3 brothers.
Uh-huh.
2 of them survived after war.
Mm-hmm.
One became invalid, but he worked all time. And second was healthy, the oldest. And they, when my father was killed during the war,
In World War II, your father died?
sorry,
Your father died in World War II?
he was killed.
Oh,
He was killed in where, how, we don't know anything. I write a lot of letters to some archive. It's near the Moscow. It was archive for all Soviet Union.
Right.
But the answer they didn't know. They don't know. It's a lot of people and what's mess this time. Nobody knows. Now some people, some young people made researches
Right.
and they found somebody. And I always write from America to this archive. They answer the same thing. No news, no news. So I don't know where, and I don't remember him at all.
How old were you when he
I
died?
was 4 years old.
Oh, when he died.
And in this time, it's not just age, the circumstances changed, for a child. It was, we went from Ukraine to Siberia, we stopped, we went, it's a lot of changes. That's why I couldn't remember anything.
Do you remember anything?
It was dangerous during the way. They bombed our trains. We get out, then we sit again. It was a very hard way for us. That's why a child, I cannot remember.
Do you
all
remember
details.
anything of the process of evacuating? Do you remember any of that part when you were actually evacuating?
Excuse me, please, can you speak a
Sure.
little bit louder?
Sure.
I have a little problem.
Yeah. Do you remember anything about actually evacuating when you were doing it? Do you remember?
I remember it was a hard time.
Yeah.
We went to Omsk. My mom's stepmother's daughter lives in Omsk. It's a big city. So we went to her. We came in, some relatives came before us, so we don't have some place there. We went to special organization who sent some people who evacuated to some places. So they sent us to Isilkul. It's Omskaya Oblast, like Malin, Zhytomyrskaya Oblast. So Isilkul was Omskaya Oblast, not so far from Omsk. And my grandfather, he worked in technicum. It's like a college He was a vice president at this college, but he started working like a guide in some place, and to get a small, I don't know how to explain you, a small building on the territory which he has to guide. You know, it's a small,
Oh, like a kind of like an official residence
on
kind
this
of thing?
territory, on this place. He has to look at night, is everything okay? You know, he
Ah.
managed, but
Like a guardian.
but we can live there free. It's for
Custodian.
us free.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And my mom started to work also in this combinat. It's name of this place. It's a combinat. And I know it was 40 degrees in Celsius. There was no man. Everybody was entitled in the war, but some uh, women has to go to the forest during the winter time, 40 degrees in Celsius, and they collect some wood to came to bring them to make a temperature for living, you know.
Right.
And she who lives in Ukraine, it's always a different temperature, you know. She must to go. It was very hard for her, of course. She was 32 years old when the war started.
Your mom?
My mom,
Right.
yes. And we lived there for years. I went to school. I graduated from first grade. I was 8 years old. And then when the war stopped, we returned to Ukraine. And this time about food, I would like to tell you. You know, when my mom worked in times of the break, the people, the working people on this combinat, they make soup for themselves. So she took the soup myself to feed me because we don't have this food in our small building. And you know, I don't eat tomatoes from the time of the war because, how to explain you, and on the back of this house, small house, if you can name it a house, it was some bushes with black berries. And some people told us that we can eat them. And I ate them too much. For one time, it was too much. And I stopped eating them. But when we came to Ukraine, Mom gave me tomatoes. She was happy to give me some tomatoes because in Siberia no tomatoes this time. In the same taste, like the
Oh, the taste reminded you of the blackberries?
yes. So from this time,
Ah.
I don't eat tomatoes.
Oh, no.
I cannot look at
Oh,
them,
no.
and everybody is amazed always that they
So,
offer me tomatoes, but I couldn't look
I was
at
going to bring you tomatoes, and I didn't.
no, no.
Okay.
Even the juice of the
Yeah.
tomatoes.
What about pizza? Can you eat pizza?
Pizza?
Yeah, with tomato sauce.
Who knows about pizza? We just saw pizza first time when we
No, I
came
mean now.
to
Yeah, I don't mean when you were. I mean nowadays. Can you eat
tomato,
tomato sauce?
a
and
little
stuff?
bit tomato. I can yet ketchup I use also sometimes,
Okay.
but not tomatoes.
Okay.
Even the juice from tomatoes on them, some pickles or some. I will not eat.
That's interesting.
Funny.
Yes, it's so many years,
Yeah.
and I keep this.
Daisy.
It's about food.
Yeah, very much. And so, when you went from Ukraine to Siberia, obviously there was huge difference in the weather and huge upheaval, huge shock to you. Do you remember, like, you said that your mum would bring you back soup sometimes to eat. Do you remember other things that you would, like, was there weird food in Siberia that you didn't see before in Ukraine, or was there something that you missed having in Ukraine that you
You know,
couldn't get
I
in
was
Siberia?
small, I was
Yeah.
8 years old, and I don't remember exactly, but I know we were happy to have some food.
Right.
No candies, no toys, you
Right.
know. It was a difficult time.
Yeah.
You know. In this combinat, sometimes they bake something to sell for for the market. I don't know exactly what is, but sometimes mom brought me a piece, and I was very happy. You
Nice.
know. Yes. I, we were very poor this time, but I have a friend not so far. I became a friend there in my age, not far from us, from this territory where we live. And one time I came to her, and it was a big snow. It's a high snow, you know, in her backyard. And I saw money, 30 rubles, a big. I remember now how it looks. It's in a red color. So I went to the snow. My shoes was full of snow, but I took and knocked them. That on their backyard I found this 30 rubles. And her father, he wasn't on the war, but he was a communist and a big, he worked a big boss. So he doesn't went to the war, and he told, you found, you have to take it. No, I left them the 30 rubles.
He tried to give it to you?
Yeah, he didn't take. And I remember one time it was also big snow, and we couldn't, in the morning, my mom couldn't get out. She has to go to work. I have to go to school. And it was covered. Our small apartment, it's not apartment, it's a house. I don't know how to name it. It was covered with snow. So people from this combinat made us a narrow way. And I remember when I get out, it was mountains of snow from both sides, you know. It's my impression till now, yeah.
Yeah.
This is what I remember. And when we became news that the war is finished, everybody in this town, nobody asked, nobody advertised, but everybody went to the center.
To celebrate.
Everybody was happy, everybody cried, you know. And I remember how we have to return. It's a small town where we lived, Isilkul. So
What's it called?
Isilkul. There is in Russia a lake, Isilkul. But we live in Isilkul. It's a small difference.
Okay.
Yes, it stopped for a couple minutes, but we have some stuff with ourselves, and 4 people. We have time to put on this train. My grandfather became